Like I talked before, every week Nigerian tech updates or developer go receive updates say React is dead. Software engineering is dead. You remember that my content I spoke about it, Abi? They go even say AI has replaced developers. Some of them go even talk say this new AI or this new framework will change everything. You get one why I even see they say this new AI rapper made $50,000 in 7 days. Before you know, immediately everybody go change career direction. Bang, everybody go follow them. While I be like waiting, it be like bicycle. But yesterday you were a front-end engineer, but today now you are an AI automation engineer. Okay. Then tomorrow you go be a Web3 infrastructure engineer. No wala. By Friday you don't add distributed system, abi? You don't add cloud, add security, add prompt engineer. Gbogbo, you be gbogbo niche. Now your own headline don't get more infrastructure past your actual application. We dey learn shiny tools every day. We dey integrate every foreign API. We are always building beautiful dashboards. But many times, the moment network becomes unstable like this, or maybe traffic increases, or one stable package wey they used before just go down or something, your entire production will begin to speak in tongues. You see, that is the problem. Nigeria does not need only people that know how to use technology. We need people that understand how to build systems that technology depends on. Anyways, now me Amos Pikins the tech prophet. Oh yeah, they with me. But we'll make something clear first. Nothing there wrong with front end though. There is nothing wrong with using frameworks. Don't get me wrong. Nothing there wrong. Say you they use foreign APIs. You don't need to write your own operating system before your startup becomes legitimate. No, that's not what I'm saying. The problem starts when all we can do is to consume. We consume cloud services. We consume payment API. We consume mapping APIs. We consume identity platforms. We consume. Now, so consume with the consume. Then we'll come create dashboard. Put one very big gradient button for the middle. May fine, may they shine. We get new morphism. We'll come and now say we are revolutionizing Africa. How, bro? Now API keys and bootstrap now they revolutionize Africa. Come on. But don't get me wrong, using existing tools is brilliant, is smart, yes. But when nobody understands what is happening underneath those tools, we become permanently dependent. We can build application, but we know if we sustain the applications where those things depend on. No. See, and the modern tech stack where if it creates illusion of progress, in case you don't know, you install a framework. You can't install authentication package. You install UI library. You connect payment provider, yeah? You connect email service. You connect SMS gateway. Then you deploy everything to cloud platform. Then everything works. Your demo they very fine. Investors even clap for you. Even LinkedIn people write congratulations, big things coming. Then real users can reach now. They enter the system. The application can start to the timeout. Payments are successful, but wallets are not updating. SMS provider delay OTP. User they click button 4 times. Your server process all the 4 requests because nobody implemented the potency. Now, one customer don't pay for the same cost 4 good times. Instead of refunding them, you can't tell them refresh your dashboard. Make they refresh waiting, bro. Fear God. This is where the difference between assembling software and system engineering becomes clear. You see, them only just they show say something feel work now like prototype. Infrastructure go ask say can it continue working when conditions become ugly? For example, many tutorials online they assume say users get stable internet. You know where we dey now. You know Africa. You know Nigeria. You know that no talk first. They assume say na modem phone we get, or the people assume say our data cheap. We get electricity. We get valid addresses. That your house address they valid. Oh, in fact, they go think say we get a valid identity like other countries, or say maybe our payment system they predictable. They play. But me and you know say that is not always our reality. Your Nigerian user may be opening your application with a budget Android phone. Some of them, they use that Nokia C7 that year. You don't believe that Java phone. Network they battery they 6%. Network they move from 4G to 3G to 2G. Just they confused. Even generator fuel finish. You see, say the conditions different. The payment provider have confirmed payment, but your webhook don't hang. The user they press the button repeatedly because you put one tiny roller. The user no need more animation library. They need a system designed for failure. They need offline tolerance. They need clear transaction states. They need retries, caching, smaller payloads because of the way our network be, background processing, reliable reconciliation. They need useful, very useful error messages, and then proper recovery when something go wrong. You no go fit solve Nigeria infrastructure problem if you pretend Nigerian problems do not exist. We get our own Nigerian problem. Every time your product depends on a foreign ecosystem, money leaves the ecosystem. You pay for cloud hosting. You pay for AI tokens. You pay for email. You pay for SMS. You pay for maps. You pay for analytics. You pay for everything. I know they talk say paying for service is automatically bad, though. That's not what I'm saying. Because if you build everything by yourself, that's actually foolishness. I know. You know, go fit just this, you build one thing, like email engine, just because you want to send welcome to our program to a person. You spending 18 months. No, you can't do that. That will not be independent. Unemployment, now they look for ISO. But we must understand the difference between strategic dependence and helpless dependence. Strategic dependence means they use this strategy or this package because it is the best decision for the business. Helpless dependence means say if the owner or the company change this package wey they use, so our entire company go crash with them. You see am? A serious ecosystem must produce engineers who can understand these trade-offs. When should we buy? When should we build? When should we self-host? When should we create a local alternative? Even when should we negotiate? When should we design an escape route? Saying we will continue paying whatever they charge is not a technological strategy. It's not a technology strategy at all. That one are direct debt with better branding. Now you get. Some startups know they fail because the idea they bad. No. Them they fail because the foundation no fit carry the idea. Everything inside one controller. Everything talks directly to the database. Come on. You they store password carelessly. Your log, you they log sensitive information. You don't even get backups. Even if you get, nobody don't test the restoration before. You don't get monitoring. You don't get rate limiting. There's no queue. There's no retry strategy. Your database, they fight for your life, but your button get very beautiful shadow where they entice user. They play. Sometimes the demand was very precedented, but your architecture was very unprepared. See, core infrastructure is bigger than distributed systems. If you don't know, when some people hear infrastructure, they'll just imagine one genius where they write connect code inside one dark room, the way movies, film they show them. It's possible, but that one are only one part of them. Core infrastructure, they also include things like reliable payment processing, identity and verification system. It go get messaging infrastructure. It go get developer tools, cloud platforms, data systems, cybersecurity services, observability tools, many things. It go even get logistic infrastructure, health data systems, education platform, government service infrastructure, local language technologies, connectivity solutions. You know, systems that make other products easier to build. So nobody say you have to create the next Kubernetes. No. You feel decide to build very nice reconciliation engine for Nigerian businesses. Or you feel try to improve identity verification. You feel create tools where you help hospitals exchange data easily. You can build better system for school records. As easy as that. You feel create developer tools where they solve deployment problems for African developers. You see them. You can create infrastructure for unreliable connectivity. You see, building things where go solve issues where they pertaining to us. Integration are a very valuable skill, but stop to the confuse integration with ownership. Because integration alone no go give you control. Imagine say your application depends on one payment provider. Every transaction they pass through them. Every webhook comes from them. Every dispute depends on them. Then one day, the service no come dey available again. Also, you already know say your product to go dey unavailable. But this one no mean say at the talk say me you build bank. No. It just means that you should understand by now. You suppose don't they understand your dependency. Like, can you support another provider, for example? Can transactions be queued? Can you reconcile payments later? Can users see pending state instead of false failure? Well, many example days, just your day. Sometimes ownership just means say you understand the system deeply for one dependency or one company to owe you to ransom. Because if one API goes down and your entire system follow and go, you no build resilient system. Oh. No. Now prayer request now you build so. A system thinker does not ask, how do I call this API? Then they ask questions like, what go happen if this API is slow? What go happen if like 1,000 concurrent person call this API? What go happen if he respond twice? What go happen if he succeed but my application no respond? We need more Nigerian developers who understand databases beyond say that they run migration. You understand? So learn transactions, learn indexes. I dey come and look am. Learn logs, learn constraints, learn replication, learn backups, learn query performance, learn data modeling. Learn networking beyond calling fetch. Understand HTTP, DNS, TLS, latency, timeout, retries, load balancing, caching. This is many, but it go nice if we know them deeply like that. Learn backend engineering beyond CRUD. Most of them are to just create, read, update, and delete. Now they do. Understand queues, workers, idempotencies. You don't need to master anything at once, but you should gradually begin to understand them step by step, gradually. Because if the abstraction break, somebody go need to understand the underlying matter waiting for that system. And you know, say production, no, they accept, say, it work for tutorial. No. Also, build for failure, not just success. Many developers, they always build, say, so far say success, just work well, fine. You also need to put failure for mind. If you fail, waiting go solve. Because, for example, if network fail or your server restart, what go happen? You need to provide things for those things. What go happen if data become inconsistent, or what if disk can become full? Or what if, for example, your certificates they expire? Well, no go think say na in BSc certificate at the talk so. But no go the thing say resilient system as system that never fail. No. Now systems will be say when they fail, they know waiting to do. When they fail, the entire business will go they destroyed. When they fail, users no go even notice downtime because they detect problem, they contain the problem, they communicate clearly. And again, hype feel they show you opportunity. Yes, hype can show you opportunities, but may not be saying a hype go control your identity. Today, everybody an AI engineer. Yesterday, you remember yesterday, everybody was a blockchain engineer. You remember, Abi? But before that, everybody was building Uber something, sha. So tomorrow, another trend go still arrive, go still come. So learn new technologies, build prototypes, experiment, take advantage of opportunities, but keep your foundation. Because trend, they always change faster than fundamentals. Developer will understand networking, how data they move, security, architecture, and debugging. It go fit easily learn another framework. Those ones are just toy. No, it don't mean anything. In my opinion, I want to tell you what Nigerian developers should start building. We should build systems that understand our environment. Payment infrastructure that handles unreliable callbacks and reconciliation properly. Logistic systems will go work even when addresses they inconsistent. Education platform will go fit tolerate poor connectivity. Also, health system will go fit protect sensitive information. Identity systems that respect privacy. The language tools will recognize Nigerian accent and languages too. Security products developed for local organization. I feel they list and they go there many. Developer infrastructure that make deployment, monitoring. I see some guys, they do them for X. And scaling easier for African teams. Even build tools that reduce our dependencies on foreign dependency. I know they talk to everything foreign, they bad though. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying in case anything stop, let's have our own indigenous stuff. And I know they thought say maybe we turn her into one ego context, say because everybody want compete. No, we know they compete with them. They get their things, which we just need to get our things. Ma talk something. If anything sup between us and them, you think say they'll carry gun, can't shoot you? Now something they go off. They go just off one thing. Everywhere go bluff our eye. So I wrote something here, a practical path forward. May I read them for you? Choose a real Nigerian problem. Do not begin with which framework should I use. They say, begin with why is this problem difficult? Study the environment, study the user, study the failure points, then build a small but reliable system. Add logs, add monitoring, handle retries, test failure cases, protect the data, document your decisions, measure performance, then deploy it. Let people use it. Then watch where it breaks. Fix it. That experience go teach you more about infrastructure than watching 33 million YouTube videos. I tell you. Anyways, I don't try for now. Bye.